God's bidding.
My dear Monsignor Willie, Father Caesar, our rector, my dear fathers, reverend sisters, brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ. One of the saddest expressions in the whole gospel is what was read in this gospel passage today, I would think. There was no room for them in the inn. We know that Joseph and Mary had gone to Bethlehem for the census from Nazareth. They were going over there to be counted. And the accommodation for these visitors was primitive. Commentators tell us they were just stalls opening out into a center courtyard, and the innkeeper only had to provide fodder for the animals and fire to cook the food, because people brought their own food. But when Joseph and Mary went over there, there was no room for them in the inn. The innkeeper turned them away. Possibly also they may not have had sufficient money to pay to be in those little stalls. I'm reminded of a story which I read in one of Bishop Percy's collection of anecdotes, of an incident which happened in London, Ontario in Canada, when in a school they were presenting a drama, exactly the scene of today's gospel passage. They were all second graders, therefore little children, and the teacher was presenting the whole nativity scene and how Joseph and Mary were going to find place for them to spend the night, and she had to cast people. And she chose for Mary and Joseph appropriate people. And then there was one student in the class who was named, the incident says was Ralph, and he was a little bigger than the other students, little slower, but very caring for everybody, so very popular, not very bright. The teacher thought that he wanted to be Joseph and wanted to be, or a shepherd with a flute, but the teacher said he's big-made and therefore he could be the innkeeper, strong and a little rude. And so the scene went on, and all the annual day, and Mary and Joseph came. They tapped the door, and the innkeeper, the boy Ralph, opened the door and yelled out, "What do you want?" And Joseph said, "I would want some place over here." And he said, he was told to say that was his part. "There's no room, get away." And Joseph said, "No, my wife Mary is with child. She's feeling cold, it's very cold. She needs to protect herself. She needs to rest. She's very tired from the journey." And he had to say now, "No, there's no room, get away." But he looked with his mouth open, and the teacher there was prompting, "Say, get away, and close the door." Well, this boy had a compassionate heart, and he looked at Joseph and Mary, and Joseph began turning away in the drama. And Ralph said, No, Joseph, please don't go away. Come inside. I'll give you my room." That ruined the play a bit. But within a few moments, the choir came and sang "Angels We Have Heard on High," etc., and salvaged. But when he said, no, please come in, he said many in the audience had tears in their eyes, because this boy was so involved in the play, he couldn't bear to see Joseph and Mary going away in the cold over there. That sentence, there was no room for them in the inn, I think should make us reflect, my sisters and brothers. We have many birthday celebrations. Today is the birthday of Jesus. Birthday celebrations generally are remembering of a past event, saying thank you to a person who was a member of our family, saying how happy we are to have him with us or her with us. It's an occasion to celebrate, enjoy, party. But a difference in this birthday of Christmas is that it's not just a remembrance of a past event, but because Jesus is God, He comes to us really every time we want Him to. When Jesus rose up to heaven, He said, I will be with you all days till the end of the earth. And He is with us if we decide to invite Him. Invite Him into the inn, which is the inn of our hearts, of our persons. Decide to invite Him into the inn, which is the inn of our minds, our activities. Allow Him to be really our friend, our strength, our guide, our light. Is there room for Him in the inn? Is there room for Him in our hearts? Is there room for Him in our persons? Every Christmas, I would think, my sisters and brothers, is a challenge for us. A challenge for us to see whether we can bring Jesus again into us, whether we can make Christmas really alive in our hearts. Christmas an event, not just a past memory, but a reality in our lives today. That's why the Church has a long period of preparation for Christmas, 4 Sundays of Advent, 4 weeks of Advent, so that we can reflect on it and really enter into this feast, which is not just a past memory, but a reality of God coming into our lives. The world sees so much of injustice, exploitation, inequality, economic and otherwise. And all this, the popes have continuously been telling us, reminding us, is because of us putting God on the periphery, not allowing Him to enter our lives, not allowing His gospel message to come into our hearts. Pope Francis repeatedly has been speaking of the care and compassion that we should have. He's been speaking of the globalization of indifference. We live in a city of Mumbai with a lot of activity and hustle and bustle, everybody preoccupied about himself and herself, and justifiably so, that we don't have time to not only think about the other, but also to know about the other. The person of Jesus and the message of Jesus is that God loves the world, that God is our Father in heaven, that we are all brothers and sisters. I ask myself, my sisters and brothers, and I ask you, is not there something radically wrong in a society where one brother can have much more than he needs to eat and drink, and the other has got to go starving, that the mother has to slap her daughter or son, go to sleep because the child is crying because he or she is hungry, has nothing to eat? Is there not something radically wrong in a society where one has much more than he needs of shelter, accommodation, and the other has to live on the pavements, run under staircases every time it rains? Is there not something radically wrong in society when one has much more than he needs, a big wardrobe of clothes, and the other brother has no shirt to cover his back, the other sister has got to go in tattered clothes? Are we one family? Are we all brothers and sisters? Has God come into our hearts? Has Jesus' message come into our lives? That's a question I ask myself, and I invite you on this Christmas day to ask yourselves also. There is so much of inequality, economic, but there's also so much of suffering of different types. Loneliness, sickness, old age, orphans being abandoned, people being marginalized. Consistently, Pope Francis has been reminding us, go out to the periphery, search those who are marginalized, give them hope, give them joy. Christmas cannot be Christmas for me, for you, unless we make it also Christmas for all our brothers and sisters. Christmas cannot be a season of joy unless we share the joy. Christmas cannot be a season of light and peace unless we are instruments spreading also His light and peace. Sisters and brothers, Christmas is a very festive occasion. Let us invite Jesus into our hearts. The speciality of our faith is that Christianity is not just a series of dogmas, of beliefs, but it is a person, a relationship with the person of Jesus. And that is why Christmas assumes importance and significance. While I wish each one of you and your families, your homes, a very happy Christmas, I invite you to open your heart, myself also, open our hearts to receive the Lord's message that we must be brothers and sisters, that we must reach out to those in need, that we must have a compassionate heart and a helping hand wherever there is need. May Jesus, the Christ child, be born in our hearts. May He be alive in our persons. May He be seen in all our actions. A happy Christmas to you.